Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Beyond the Broomstick, that podcast that opens up all the opportunities and possibilities that spirituality can bring to you in your everyday life, whilst removing some of the woo-woo that we see on social media these days. Welcome. If we haven't met before, my name is Matilda. I am a professional psychic medium here in Australia and have been practicing for well over 20 years. In this week's episode, I'm going to be talking about being stuck. So many people I talk to on a daily basis feel as if they're stuck, feel as if they can't get out of where they are, they can't move forward, they can't go backwards, and they just keep repeating the same patterns time and time again. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper in some tips and tricks on how to get yourself unstuck. Some of it, most of it is going to take some work. But once you know what that work is, it's really a great way to start moving forward. So we'll talk about that. As always, at the end of my podcast, I'm going to talk about some predictions that I see coming in. I'm going to talk about election week and the week after, because I've been asked so many times about it. So I'm going to dive into that a little bit for you. That's what the end of the episode is going to be about. So stay tuned. But the main focus today is to get you guys unstuck and moving, getting in the direction that you want to be. My job as a psychic medium, as well as connecting people with their loved ones in the afterlife, is to really empower people to take control of their own lives. First off, I'm going to give a massive shout out to everyone that tunes in on a regular basis. Little old me, Matilda, in a tiny country town, well, it's not that tiny, but a country town in the middle of Victoria, Australia, released a podcast in January. The idea of my podcast was to inform people, to take away the woo-woo, to take away some of the fallacies that we see about spirituality on social media, to explain about the afterlife and to help empower people. I never imagined that so many people would be tuning in. Currently, we are listened to in 71 different countries and 2,709 cities. Wow, that is amazing. And I've sat, for the last couple of weeks, I've been at number 1 in the US spirituality charts on Apple. I don't rank on Spotify. There's a reason for that. Apparently, I had 2 accounts. One of them has now been removed. So Beyond the Broomstick was being loaded twice, so people could find it was being listened to over 2 different accounts. Anyway, that's by the by. But I literally have sat in the top 10 for months. Dropped a bit this week, but that's okay. I'm blown away. And the main thing is that you guys should be so proud of yourselves. Tuning in to learn something, tuning in to really take on board what I'm saying, and the amount of people that reach out to me and to say thank you for the information that I have given. I've got some fan mail here that I'm just blown away by. Russell in Massachusetts has messaged me twice, and he says, I'm getting better understanding of spirituality. I will confess I am still stumbling, but working on it. Getting out of my head is the hardest part. Thank you so much for the predictions. It feels manageable because it gives me time to do some preparations. Really enjoy listening to you. Thank you, Russell. And you also messaged earlier saying that, as always, your podcast always leaves me feeling so hopeful. I'm blown away. Just so many people saying thank you, that they're learning something, that they're taking on board the learnings that I share with you. So you should all be really proud of yourselves for being open to becoming more self-aware, to becoming more in tune with your spirituality and understanding that it isn't some deep, dark secret that we really hide. This is open for everyone. And yeah, I am grateful, and B, I am proud of every single one of you. So thank you so much. So what does it mean to be stuck? So many people will just feel this state of inertia, this state that they're stuck in a job they don't like, a relationship they don't like, a place they don't like, and they really don't feel as if they have a way out or how to get out of this state of inertia that is leaving them stuck. Very often, there are reasons you get stuck. Very often, it is because you haven't really addressed the reasons you're not making a change. Imagine having a job that you're really good at, that you've worked really hard at getting to, but your boss is an asshole. The company don't pay you enough, and you haven't gotten that promotion for years that you've been deserving of. But yet, all you do is complain about it. You go to work every week. You've been there years. Why would I change? Your resume is fantastic. Your degree is amazing from a really good university, and you've got amazing references. Yet, you still haven't done anything to get out of the situation you're in. The reality of that is that there's a fear attached. Whether that fear is rejection, whether that fear is change, whether the fear is, I am just too comfortable, I can't make the change, I'm just going to complain about it. Being stuck means there is often an underlying reason and some healing in your life that you need to do in order to address why you are stuck. People in difficult relationships who become stuck in a pattern of either abusive or emotionally up and down, in and out relationships don't make a change. Sometimes they're stuck. I don't like this. I don't want to be in this situation. Yet they return to it time and time again. The pattern has formed many years ago, but they just haven't recognized it. And the fear of being alone has overridden the fear of staying in a situation that is either tempestuous or fearful. The dynamic has become comfortable. We get stuck for many reasons, but most of the time there is a fear-based attached to why we don't move out of situations that are no longer suiting us. If we don't start the healing process and addressing the reasons why we are stuck, why we are fearful, then we are not going to change anything. It's comfortable being stuck. It's comfortable being in a place where we don't have to put ourselves through the healing process, because there is no doubt about it. Healing can be painful. So sometimes it's easier to stay stuck than do the work and feel some of the pain that healing can bring to us. There is no doubt that once we start addressing our healing journey, and that can come in many forms, whether it be addressing our shadow work, whether it be addressing something that happened in childhood, early adulthood, whether it be the conditioning in which we were brought up and the limiting self-beliefs that we tell ourselves every single day, that's all part of the healing journey. Often The universe is constantly trying to tell you that you are in the wrong place. The feeling of uncomfortableness, the knowing that I have to move, the feeling of being stuck. I see people that have been in jobs for 10 years that absolutely hate the job. And when the universe comes along and makes them redundant, or there's a downsizing and they're sacked, or for whatever reason they're suddenly without the job that they absolutely hated, they are so fearful and in so much pain that they cannot move forward. But that is the universe's way of saying, hold on, we've been watching you for 10 years. We've been seeing you unhappy. If you don't address this fearful energy of yours that has kept you in the comfort zone, even though you're unhappy, we're just going to take away that job. Relationships are the same. I've seen people that have been on a roller coaster of abusive or roller coaster relationships. And when somebody that treats them appallingly leaves them, all they want is that person back. They want that comfort back. But the comfort is not feeding their soul. And therefore, the universe has taken that person out of the equation to make you address your healing and what has kept you stuck. And it's up to you whether you do it or not. Often the denial is easier. When you deny what is happening, you are handing your power over to other people. When you own it, you get to write your own story. You get to write the ending of what you want your story to be. And that's an important part to realize. Healing is painful. I am not going to deny that. I've been through my own healing journey, and I say without a shadow of a doubt, there is not a spiritual teacher out there that does not bear the scars that they have healed. And if they haven't done the work, they shouldn't be doing the work, as in being spiritual or a spiritual teacher. I have been through my own dark night of the soul, times when I never thought I would get out of it. But when I sat down, when I realized what I was doing to myself, which is self-abuse, I managed to get myself on a pathway, and I have never been more fulfilled and happier in my life. But why is healing so hard? If you've been working to heal, it often feels harder than before as you encounter all the things that get in the way. The journey of having and living a life of healing and wholeness isn't always as easily well-paved path as before you. It can often feel overwhelming and discouraging. You just want to feel better. You picture this version of your life and of yourself without all these trauma responses, the anxiety and symptoms, the fear. But it does feel like an uphill battle many days. So why does it feel so hard? Owning and doing the hard work of healing will change your life. It's worth it. You are worth it. And that's the important thing, is sometimes our self-limiting beliefs tell us that we are not worthy of the things that we deserve. You are worth it. One of the first questions to ask yourself is, are you attached to the healing, or are you attached to the trauma? And once you've answered that, you'll have a really good idea of where you want to go. For the most, a healing journey is the biggest thing that can keep you stuck. Is it your devotion to the trauma? To move forward and get unstuck, we often must be willing to become aware of sometimes revisit our most painful moments and the memories and wounds they leave. But often we spend so much time and energy trying to validate the wounds and keeping them open we hyper-focus on the symptoms of what's wrong with us instead of redefining our identity and our worth. Once you've moved from trauma focus, you can move into the health, healing, and wholeness. You can start to feel different. You will see a massive change in showing up for yourself. There is no doubt that healing is hard, but there are many ways we often make it harder and heavier. Some of the pitfalls are that there are times when people on their healing journey where you start to look at the past figure to figure out what is wrong. A big part of owning the story and healing the past is becoming aware of not just the experiences we went through, but how they continue to impact and affect us today. Were you fed negativity and told you weren't good enough when you were younger? Were you not listened to? Part of this is often normal and healthy, and often a good part of your journey to walk through with either your therapist. As I said, I'm not a psychologist. I am only here to help you on your healing journey. But many of these traumas are resurfacing in your mind, body, and soul every time you pick at the scab. Sometimes we just need to air it out in order for you to move forward. Stop punishing yourself. It's okay to be happy. It's okay to feel joy. The problem many people face is when we decide we want to heal, is that we make ourselves into a project that must be finished instead of a human wanting to feel whole and alive. It is okay to feel happy and worthy. Worthy now, not if or when, is also really important. You are worthy now, not when you've done the work, not when you've finished the work, because sometimes our healing can take many years. It is not linear, but you've got to take the wins. Changing that belief can be the switch that gets you unstuck. Flipping the switch from trying to earn and chase your joy, peace, and wholeness to claiming and fighting for it like it already belongs to you is your right to do. Another difficult pattern that people fall into when they are addressing their trauma is that they fall into a version of victimhood. Now, it may not have been your fault, but now it is your responsibility. So if you live in the victim mentality for a really long time, you focus on the blame and shame. You hyper-focus on the problems of the past and what they have caused you and the ripple effect of what they have caused you. People will tell you to forgive. That's all you need to do is forgive the people that cause things to you. Well, actually, what I feel and what I have learned is processing things for yourself and not allowing the past to steal from your present is a way forward. I am not of the school of thought that you have to forgive people that have harmed you. That is a personal choice. But for me, I found by moving forward and taking my agency back instead of handing it over to people and handing it to my past helped me heal. Bringing it back into my control has helped me no end and has helped many, many people that I work with. Nothing is perfect. And learning to honor your boundaries when you have been told not to have boundaries, learning to honor yourself when you have been told not to honor yourself, learning to move forward rather than sitting in the victimhood will assist you. So move out of that I must forgive. I am not going to be whole until I forgive the person that caused me harm. That's not the case. You are going to be whole when you decide you're whole. You are going to be whole when you decide to move forward. Many of these things that have brought up your past are going to feel very painful. And if you can continually hand over your power to other people that have caused you harm in the past, or why do all the people in my life treat me that way? Well, they treat you that way because you've sat in your victimhood and you've allowed them to. You are the one that has control over how you feel and how you move forward. The quicker you work that out, the quicker you will start feeling as if you can move forward and stop feeling so stuck. One of the biggest advices I am going to give is, if you can possibly do this healing journey with somebody you trust, therapist, online coach, etc., they can set you challenges on a regular basis to help you address what is making you feel stuck. The upshot is that when we are stuck, we are faced with a choice of addressing our fears that are stopping us or staying and remaining stuck. But do so gently and be gentle with yourself, because the reality is that sometimes we have years of pent-up trauma that we have to address to unstuck ourselves, or unstick ourselves even. I'm going to take a quick break to give our latest Patreon supporters a shout out. If you don't know about paid Patreon, then you are missing out. My Patreon page has lots of extra predictions, lots of extra information there. There is a community that everyone talks and gets, introduces themselves from all around the globe. I load up Patreon-only podcast, and it is also a place where I do a Patreon-only Q&A, where once a month, if you are in the $15 and up membership, you get to ask your spiritual questions or your current affair questions. That's where you get the answers. So go along and have a look. There is free membership where all of my TikTok lives and my podcasts are loaded up for you to listen to. But if you want more information, more predictions, it is all there for you, including a wonderful magazine that is produced on a monthly basis. So my latest Patreon members, when you join, you get a shout out on the podcast. So every month I give my the newest Patreon members, a shout out. And I always say, without you guys, I wouldn't be here, wouldn't be able to produce what I do. Check out the paid Patreon. There is, as I say, free Patreon, which has all of my TikToks, etc. My TikTok lives, are all there, which always includes some predictions that people seem to miss, as well as my podcast, the Sassy Sears podcast. All of that is in the free part. If you want extra content, access to the newsletter, access to extra predictions, you do have to join. So my shout out this week is Naomi, Kristen, Katie, who has joined for 12 months, Karen Hernandez, Vicky Green, Kim Foley, Ryan415, Astuje, and I'm sorry, I have mispronounced that, but my biggest apologies, Doris, Nurse Pez, who has joined for 12 months, Aurelia, Acevedo, who has joined for 12 months, Leah, Dana Noakes, Tiffany Phillips, who joined for 12 months, Wendy KH, Akansha, Boo, Christopher Brooks, Poriana, who has joined for 12 months, Sandy, Amanda, Stephanie, Rosemary, Tara Henry, who has joined for 12 months, Jeanette, Scott, who has joined for 12 months, Chiny, Karen JC, Maria Vint, Felicity, Diana Hornbeck, who has joined for 12 months, Jennifer McPhee, Eleanor Flowers, Jaxitation, Mel, and Michelle. Thank you so much. You guys rock. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys, and I really do appreciate it. So, we've talked about the reasons we can become stuck. Some of the reality that if we put off our healing journey, that we will continually be in the same loop of refusal to admit that maybe we are the problem. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks now to help you become unstuck. We've talked about the healing. That is incredibly important. And the reason people stop healing or don't want to heal is very obvious. It's that it's more comfortable to be in a state of comfort, basically. If I don't make changes, I'm not going to be uncomfortable. When you start your healing journey, it is going to be painful. It is going to be uncomfortable. But the quicker you start, the quicker you move through it. If we continually lean into our victimhood and pick at the scab of our trauma, we're never going to heal. It's just going to stay there forever. And that gives the power to the trauma. As I've said before, I'm not a psychologist. If you feel you need a psychologist, if you feel you need a therapist or a life coach or somebody to help you, then reach out and find those tools or find yourself a support network. But it is important that you are very compassionate with yourself. When we keep doing the same things over and over again, we can really become down on ourselves. We get disappointed and discouraged and frustrated, and a form of negative self-image. Trust me, I also know this well, and yet none of that helps us get unstuck. It only adds to the stuckness. So what would it be like to be kind to ourselves instead? That doesn't mean we don't try to change. It just means we stop adding self-discouragement to our list of challenges. Or at least, if we do, we start adding encouragement and compassion for ourselves. Turning towards the difficulty is another thing that people do avoid. If you're avoiding thinking about a difficult project or a messy finances or messy relationships, clutter, or your exercise or diet or health issues, whatever it is, not much will change until you turn towards it and face it. A willingness to turn towards the difficult situations and work with it is one of the most important requirements to change. Making decisions and set an intention. If we want something different to happen, we have to decide to make a change. It's as simple as that. And yet what happens is we get stuck in an in-between state where we want to change, but we haven't made a clear decision to do so. A clear decision means we let go of all the should I do this or maybe not kind of self-talk and just commit to a decision fully. And then we set an intention. If you want to do something, just do something. And if you want a different outcome, you must try a different method. Try doing it with others. Most people try to get unstuck and make a change by themselves. This feels safer. But it means you're doing something tough on your own. I've talked about this, which can work sometimes, but often it doesn't work. I've found, personally, it can be incredibly powerful and effective to do it with others. Find a group. There's plenty online. Do challenges. Get accountability. We don't want accountability sometimes. And the reason we don't want accountability is because we set ourselves up for failure. Because if we're not accountable, then no one will know if we haven't done it. I know all the tricks myself. I've been there and I have done it. Set a timer to practice with it and to keep up the practice. It's funny how often we say we're going to do something, but then don't commit to time. Make a date with yourself. Practice whatever it is that you want to practice. Do you need to meditate every day? Do you need to go for a walk? Do you need to write your resume? Do you need to sit down and write a list of pros and cons? All of those things need to be done. And if we don't set time for them, again, we're denying the change within us. Remember, progress, not perfection. You're not trying to be perfect at this. You're trying to trend in the right direction. You missed 4 days of meditation last week. Well, focus on the 3 days you did. Keep making progress. It's like positive thinking. We have bad days where we have negative thinking. Positive thinking is for the win, but the negative thinking sometimes overrides us. Just because we have a bad day does not mean to say that we have lost everything. We just need to get back on track, like a diet. If you sit and eat 6 Mars bars in a day, it doesn't mean to say your diet's over. It just means that the next day you might not eat 6 Mars bars. I'm not talking from any experience whatsoever, but just do something. When we are stuck, we can't see the wood for the trees. Getting unstuck is within you. And that is the most important thing. Just making the change. Anything is change. Before I move on to talking about the first couple of weeks in November, I really want to talk about being kind to yourself. It is so important that you realize that you are an individual with individual needs. Being kind to yourself can look like many different things. So many people have that inner self-talk. I'm not good enough. I'm never going to be good enough. I'm too fat. I'm too short. I'm too thin. I'm too this. I'm too that. Being kind to yourself and being patient with yourself is incredibly important. That doesn't mean to say that you give yourself an out at every opportunity. You must learn to move through the pain instead of turning back into the comfort in order to progress and to get yourself unstuck. But kindness is key, and being nice to yourself is so important. I see so many people that are unhappy with themselves on social media. And I'm not just talking about people that create content. I'm talking about those that comment and those that will find anything to be negative about. There's been a trend recently, which is the 17 diapers. And those who are not American, 17 nappies. There was a young mum who had to pick up 17 dirty nappies from around her home. Who are we to judge what she's going through? Who are we to judge what she went through the previous 24 hours? As long as her baby is cared for, safe, clean, and fed. When you are a newborn mum, those are your top priorities. I never had any help with my babies. I don't have extended family. My husband at the time literally brought me home from hospital with our second child and returned to work. And I was alone with a newborn who screamed constantly and needed to be fed hourly, and a toddler. And I put so much pressure on myself to be the perfect mum that I forgot who I was and what I needed, and I never asked for that. We should never, ever put people in a situation that they are fearful of judgment when they need to ask for help. No matter what your experience is as a first-time mum, second-time mum, You should always be ready to listen, non-judgmentally. And if somebody needs your help, you step up. The kindest thing, I will never forget this. I had a mother's group. In Australia, we have this thing where when our babies are around 6 weeks old, the maternal health nurse has like a coffee morning with 6 people that are all in a mother's group. And we went through our first and our second babies together. And for 6 weeks, you meet at the maternal health centre every, Thursday for a coffee and some sweet treats. And then you move, if you want, and you get on with these people to each other's homes, which my group of mums did. And everyone else in this group of mums was from local. They had mums and families and everyone around them. And I wasn't. And those first couple of weeks with my youngest the first 2 years with my youngest were absolutely horrific. I was a zombie. And I will never forget one of them turning up and me saying, "I'm so sorry, my garden's such a mess. I haven't been able to mow the lawn and my husband hasn't been around." And instead of judging me, she just said, "Where's your lawnmower?" And she got the lawnmower out, and she knew it bothered me, and she got the lawnmower out. And I'd never had kindness like that. It just blew me away. It was just a simple act, and I will never, ever forget that. And on another occasion, my youngest was in and out of hospital a lot, and I had just got home from being at the hospital with him for, I think, 3 weeks. And one of the women in my mother's group sent me a message and said, "I do not have time. I'm working full time to come and help you, but I'm sending my cleaner around for a couple of hours for you." And that was just amazing. It was just one of the kindest things. Now, when I see someone struggling, I will step up. If I cannot help physically, I will help with a meal, with a card for a meal. There's lots of things I do online that people don't see, where I will reach out and help people if I can. Very recently, there's a woman called Medical Mama, and she has her daughter in and out of hospital with epilepsy, and they all had COVID. So I just sent her an Uber Eats voucher so that she could get food for her and her children without having to cook it because she was sick herself. There are simple things that we can do. Kind words, holding space for someone to be able to voice their own pain without saying, "This is how I did it. You're doing it wrong. You should never have 17 dirty nappies around your home. Jesus, you should have seen the state of my home when my kids were little." It is what it is. Judging a mum is not on. Not when they are doing their very best and their children are fed, safe, secure, and healthy. So that's my soapbox for this week. Let's talk about the election. Now, I've already made my prediction and it stands 100%. Kamala Harris will be elected the next president of the United States of America. I have been saying that it will be a Democratic victory since the beginning of 2023, maybe the end of 2022. And I always said that I did not see Joe Biden being the candidate. But what I have seen is health problems for Trump, which have shown up. I have to be honest that I was shown that he would have a health event before the election. Maybe that's happening after the election. Irrespective, he is not and never will be the president of the United States again. He will not run again. He will not be fit to run. And I did say to my Patreon-only podcast where I talked about a lot of things this week, that I felt that he's withholding his medical records because he's going to use them when it comes to sentencing, that he is unfit. but he doesn't want to use them now. He was never the candidate. It was always JD Vance. It was always going to be JD Vance would step up as president. And that is not going to happen because JD Vance is not going to be president either, just to rest your minds. But what I see happening is it will be very obvious around the 6th or the 7th. Remember, sometimes I get things in my time frame that Kamala Harris has won. It will be very obvious. Please don't ask me about the House and the Senate because, as I've always said, you need to vote down ballot. I would have to go into so many different energies to find that out. I haven't been given a clear indication of anything. And often if I don't get the information, it means that you guys need to do the work to make it happen. But what I will say is that it is a Democratic victory. You will know who won. It will be very, very obvious early on. What will happen after that is it will become litigious. I don't think it will go as far as the Supreme Court, but I do feel that there will be certain states that will be pulled out for questioning, for recounts, for toddler tantrums. You will see a lot of toddler tantrums from Trump over the week after, and then I feel like he'll just suddenly disappear for a period of time. I don't want you to worry. I feel like the decision will come out the last week, maybe the week before of November. So you will know by the end of November that Kamala Harris is the president of the United States. Do I see a MAGA uproar? There will be little ones. But I feel like there will be little ones before, like around 5th and 6th, maybe the 4th of November, in different areas. The shocking thing is, and I know that I have said this previously, that I feel it's Florida or Texas that will go completely blue. I'm not sure which one it is, but I know that red states are turning blue, if not a very dark shade of purple. So that's exciting news. In the lead up to the election, I feel like there's some dodgy behavior coming out of the Republican camp. Yes, I'm aware of what Elon Musk is doing and he will pay the price for it, but it will take some time. I feel like there's even dodgier stuff coming out where they're lying basically about some history, or there's some made up stuff. Stories around Kamala and Tim Walz that they're trying to get out there. I also feel that I don't think that Washington is going to be at risk like it was on January the 6th. And I feel like by the time we get to January, a lot of things would have calmed down. And for some reason, I feel that the weather during January will prohibit people from demonstrating or being in Washington. So expect very severe cold weather around that time, if not wet, but very severe cold weather in January in Washington. The litigious side of things is just going to cost them money because Kamala Harris is already on it with her legal team. There is going to be some threats to polling stations. I don't know where, but there will be some threats or maybe some scares that's going to try and stop people voting in certain areas. A lot of underhand things, but the outcome remains. I still think there could be a delay in voting. Either they have to extend the opening hours of the polling stations because of these things, or they have to divert things. But it feels like there could be a delay in voting. I feel like the week leading up to the election, there's a lot of shocking news coming out of the Trump camp. So keep an eye out for that. His health is very, very much in question. Yes, he did go and serve at McDonald's and he looked well. That's what medication is for. That's how he got through the debate. When he doesn't have this medication or whatever it is he takes, whether it's legal or illegal, for entertainment purposes only, he seems to function. But he is definitely on the downward spiral. Everyone's asking for this, this big Trump undone, never coming back. It's happening. You can see it. And there's more to come, and there's 2 weeks to go. So hold your horses. Stay safe if you are voting in person. Be aware of your surrounds and perhaps vote in pairs if you can, like go with a friend, because I do feel like there's going to be some argy-bargy at polling stations where there is, it's more a Republican state or something. But these people are way, way passionate. And as far as, the MAGAs will go away. They will dissipate over the next 12 months. They have no choice. Their Lord and Master is going to be not incarcerated in a prison, but he's certainly going to be under house arrest or not around or not able to be around. Why do you think they delayed the sentencing? Why do you think that judge delayed it until after the election? Because he's going to be free to lock him up under house arrest. Simple as that. We've seen the indictments released from Jack Smith. They have been uncovered. I know a lot of it is redacted. There are around 200 names on that list that they can expect a Christmas present of a visit from Jack Smith, his team. They will be indicted. That is all happening around December time. They just want to get through this election. That may well kick up a massive stink because I am being shown almost all of these people just being handed indictments on the same day. It's going to be a fun time. Going to be a fun time. So there's lots of people on there. All right, that's it from me today. I hope it has been helpful. Remember, it is when the uncomfortable feeling of being stuck far outweighs the uncomfortable feeling of moving forward that you are really ready to make that change. But guys, it is down to you and you can do it. I have faith in you. I really do. Look out for a new course that I am releasing on the 1st of February. It's going to be released within the next couple of weeks. It is around empowerment. It's a 4-week course, includes all things like self-concept, the healing journey, how to get unstuck. All of that is included in the course. And that is going to be released in the next couple of weeks to start in February. And that's about it for now. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful and spectacular week. Lots of love, and I will see you next week.